No, you're good now.
Okay.
Yep. What's going on, man?
Nothing, man. Having a hard go here. My iPhone
Yeah.
just like started, like just restarted by itself a couple times,
Yeah.
and then now my service won't work, like my cellular.
Oh, really? Fuck.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure it out. I think I gotta go to the Apple store, and they're like,
Oh, you gotta have two phones.
yeah, they're like, we might need to take your phone for a couple days. I'm like, well, I'm completely fucked then.
Dude, you gotta always have two phones.
I don't.
Neither do I. I feel like it's such a fucking waste.
Having two phones?
But I know a lot of coaches have a phone specifically just for clients, and then a phone for like friends and family, which makes sense. But then you basically just look like a drug dealer. So
Yeah, well, I mean, especially if you just have everyone like updating you on WhatsApp or something like that.
yeah, exactly. I just use WhatsApp as well. I don't think there's a reason to have two phones, really.
I get it, man, because like honestly, what's probably fucking my phone up is like the storage and like people sending me videos and pictures and shit
Yeah,
all the time. Your phone just stores them in the conversations, right?
yeah. I met a dude like a couple weekends ago, and this guy's got two phones, and I just asked him, I'm like, so what's the second phone for? Are you a drug dealer or something? And he's like, as a joke. And he's like, nah, man, I'm not a drug dealer. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, so then we're talking. I'm like, so what do you do for work? He's like, I sell drugs. Like, I'm not even kidding. I was like, okay, cool, man. No judge.
Well, that's,
No judge.
I mean, if you have two phones and you're a drug dealer, you probably shouldn't be like showing two phones.
Oh yeah.
You know, like if you're a coach, it's different. Like, no, like people can put that together, but I mean, whatever though. It's like drug dealers that wear like huge gold chains and shit.
Yeah.
It's just like everyone knows you don't have a job,
Yeah.
but yet you have a gold chain.
Exactly.
You know, like I've never understood that, but that's why, like, I mean, those are always the guys that get caught, I guess. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
like the big drug dealers are like lay low, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For the most part.
And the people that have like the most money, like they're not like flashy people. You know, they might have like nice things, but they're not spending money on like chains and like things that you can visually see are extremely expensive, like, you know, Rolexes and stuff. Because then you're just putting yourself as a target.
Yeah, they're smart enough to, instead of spending that money on chains and dumb shit, they're investing in real businesses and, you know, starting to, you know, that's probably what you should do, I guess, if you're a drug dealer, right? At least try to transition. Right.
Exactly.
Those are the guys that don't get caught. Like those guys who are buying the chains and shit, all eventually get caught.
That's right. Yeah.
You can only live that. You can only do that for so long. Like, you know.
Hey, if you're gonna do it, you want all your money to be going into a legitimate business so you can clean it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like that buying jewelry and clothes is such a waste of money. Like it's not really worth anything once you buy it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like jewelry is only valuable because we say it's valuable.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no shortage of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So, what's going on with your training right now?
Getting big and strong right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's good, man. My body's good. I got some like shoulder issues I'm always working through, but it's always something, right?
Yeah, especially as you're pushing weight up a lot too. Like you're gonna find like things feel different.
How often do you go to the chiropractor? You do like regular visits to the chiropractor?
You know, I was seeing a chiropractor probably twice a month, but now that I'm seeing my osteopath, he does everything that the chiropractor does plus other things. So now I just see him, but he does adjustments as well. So I see him every week, but he doesn't adjust me every week. It's like maybe he'll adjust me every other time or just whenever I need it.
You go see him every week?
I see him every week, yeah. Just because he's like, he does everything. So if I need like deep tissue, he'll do that. If I need like, you know, like a specific area, like activated, like we can work on that. Or like if I need an adjustment, we can do that. If it's like other things, like even related to organ health, we can work on that. So it's interesting, but I just go to him because he can just do everything.
Yeah. I think I need to go see my chiropractor. I just kind of feel like out of line. I feel like my upper body, my lower body are like not in the same line, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I'm walking straight, but I'm looking left.
No, totally. I used to go to this one guy actually when I was in Tampa, and he would always make me stand on like two identical like body weight scales, 1 foot on each, and you would see that over time, like as you're working with him, you would start to become more even. Because at first I was like leaning more onto the left side or leaning more to the right side or whatever it was. It'd be like, you know, if you're 300 pounds, you'd be 150 pounds on left leg, 150 pounds on right leg ideally. But if it's like 120 on one and then like 180 on the other, it's like, that's a big problem. Because now everything that you're doing is like all that gravity, all that weight you're lifting, it's all shifted. Yeah. So
yeah, I might have some of that going on actually. Now that you mention it, kind of feels like it. Like I even have like my left heel is like sore all the time. Like I walk my dogs and stuff. Like I'm not doing anything excessive, you know. But I find like my left heel is always kind of sore, and like this kind of like just like weird stuff. And like when I'm standing up, like I'll be standing and like I'll feel like my feet are like adjacent with each other.
yeah.
Like one is slightly ahead of the other.
Okay, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I notice how I'm posing, like if I'm posing like my front double or front lat spread, I'll feel like my toes are on a line, but one foot is like 1 or 2 inches ahead.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not the end of the world, but what I think about it's like, how's that affecting my training?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to get like obsessed with it because I don't think you're ever going to be like 100% perfect. But if you're noticing that things are changing or like there's a bigger discrepancy, then you might be more at risk for like an injury, right?
Yeah, I don't want to make anything worse, right?
Yeah, but it gets more intense as you're heavier, right? So
Oh yeah, well yeah, exactly, dude. I'm gaining like a couple pounds a week right now. I'm like 323 today.
I think if you're doing that, then you should see your chiropractor every week because you're adding tissue to your body every week, so it's changing every week.
Yeah.
I just
realized I didn't take my insulin this morning.
Oh yeah.
It's okay.
What type of insulin or like I guess what log are you using? Just Humalog or
No, Lantus. Just taking 20 IUs in the morning.
That's what I'm doing too. That's literally exactly what I'm doing. We probably have the same exact thing at this point.
Yeah, I think our plans are pretty similar. Are you taking Masteron too, or?
Basically what I decided to do, because last week when I did 200 test and 50 trend in one shot, it like made me sick. I think it was like a combination of things. It wasn't just that, but I think it was just a bit too much for my body all at once. So I'm doing 100 tests, 25 mast, and 10 trend every day.
Oh,
yeah. I think
how much test did you say?
100. So
okay.
700 a week. 25 times 7 for the Masteron, and then 70 milligrams of Tren. So whatever that is.
Such a low dose of Tren. Is that Tren E?
No, because I'm doing it every day. It's Tren A.
Right.
But 70 milligrams a week, like it's kind of a low dose. But like I don't know. It's if I need to increase it, I will obviously. But I'm not gonna overload my body for no reason.
Yeah. So is that your idea or was that Dorian?
Well, Dorian wanted me to try doing a little bit of a higher dose at first, but I just told him like, it's just too much. I think, I was like, I'll slowly get to that point then maybe, right? But if I'm making great progress here, then I'll just stay for a while, increase it when I need to.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while since I've taken any trend. It's probably been like, at least 12 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes.
That shit hits hard,
Yeah, it does, man. You'll probably notice that, like that 70 milligrams, right? Like you'll just know, just in the way you feel. You know what I mean?
I don't even want to feel anything really. That's why I'm just going like at a slower pace, because right away I just felt like my dopamine crash where I just like was just like really angry all of a sudden. I'm like, I don't want to feel like that.
Yeah, it's the worst. You're dealing with that aggression all the time.
Yeah.
No.
And you can take other stuff to like combat it, but I totally agree with Broderick where you're like, you just lower the dose, man. Why you got to take other stuff to deal with one thing when you can just simply deal with it in a better solution.
Do you want me to send a link to the guys?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna try to pull up their Instagram or Dylan's Instagram. You just turned pro, he said.
Yeah, do it. Get it ready. Show a few pics and stuff.
Do it. There he is. I gotta give him a follow back for sure. There you go. Pretty nice physique, man.
It looks good. I think that was only like his third show, dude.
Yeah, he was hard as nails, looks like. Okay, I'll just share my screen right now.
Yeah, I just sent him the link. So
Because I want to look at it. So, Dylan Bursey, DYLAN BURSEY on Instagram. Just got his pro card at the North Americans. Looking fucking really good.
yeah, man,
The pink pro card.
beat out like, I don't know, some crazy number of guys, like 70 something other guys.
That's unreal. Yeah, that's crazy. Check
Yeah.
this out.
New Brunswick boy.
Yeah. I think the detail on his legs helped him out a lot.
Yeah, man, crazy lines.
Yeah. His abs are really nice and blocky and thick too.
I think he has it. I think, I'm not sure. We'll ask him, but I think he has a decent amount of room left in his weight class. He's a tall guy, man. He's like my height.
Yeah.
You know, he's like 6'1" or 6'2" for sure.
I like his side chest a lot. He has like a good projection from his chest. Here we go.
Nice Christmas tree there. Upper back was pretty detailed.
Yeah. Solid overall for sure.
Yeah, just a good package, man.
Yeah.
Skin looked good, tan looked good. Fuck.
Yeah, exactly. That makes a huge difference, man. Like there's no like flaws in his skin or anything like that. At least not that you can see, right? But cool. It's epic.
Yeah. I was just talking to him, so I guess they're getting ready.
So there it is. There, I guess that's the top call out there. This guy's got some scorpion tattoos like on his abs. Interesting.
Interesting, yeah. Seeing a lot more tattoos on the stage these days.
For sure, yeah.
You know,
I think guys were like really scared to get tattoos before because they thought it would like hinder their judging in some way, but it doesn't obviously seem to be the case anymore.
I think judges are just the judges are just getting so used to seeing it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Hannah's here. Yo,
There's the boys.
we were just creeping your Instagram. What's going on?
You guys can hear us and see us okay? We're all good?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, good. Sounds good too. Nice.
Sweet.
So the Mr. North America.
What's
First
up?
time I've talked to you guys, really. Since,
Yeah.
I know
You
you tried to
missed
call
your,
us there one day.
You
and
missed
we
your
were-
call there.
Yeah, well, I knew you guys were out and about. I was trying to catch you like before you head out for the day or something like that. I just wanted to say a quick congrats. But yeah, fuck yeah, dudes. Congrats. You got the job done.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
Fucking
Thanks.
shocked the world a little bit with this one, man. Like, I mean, we all knew that you were going up there with a good competitive package, and then you just ended up smashing everybody. So
The
like,
dark
how are
horse.
you feeling that? Yeah, the dark horse for sure. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's been a few days now, and I mean, you guys have, I'm sure you've talked about it lots, and you know, has it settled in for you that you won your pro card and won the overall at like the biggest pro qualifier in North America, or how are you feeling?
Not in the slightest, man. Honestly, like since I got home, like I've been, right back to work and just kind of right back into a normal routine and everything like that. Like today's my first day off since I've been home. So it's like, I've had this kind of conversation with a lot of people, whether it's coworkers, whether it's family, friends, whatever. And it's like, every time this conversation comes up, it's like, holy shit, like it still hasn't sunk in. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel real at all. And I kind of catch myself at times throughout the day. It's just like, that actually just fucking happened. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I kind of have some experience with it myself, like, you know, just like it's such a high and then it's coming back to like normalcy. But I mean, two of you guys, especially, like you guys have just been grinding, like living the lifestyle. Like, you know, Dana's been banging out shows. He's been in prep while he's coaching you while you're in prep. It seems like you guys have been like competing for like a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feels like
it. I mean, like since Dana and I started working together, I mean, it's been almost 3 years now. You know,
of prep attempts
of prep. Yeah. Like basically like of straight just preps and off seasons and just like, you know, just rolling with it. Like we got interrupted there the first pretty much 2 years with all the COVID stuff. Right. So the preps were still happening and the work was still getting done, but there was nothing to really show for it as far as like a show is concerned, you know what I mean? But like the work was still getting done. So
yeah, like it's interesting because, you know, like last year in November was his first show on stage.
Yeah.
So it's literally been 8 months since he started competing, and he's already like, but the funny thing about that is like in 2020 in March, like when the Gladiator and all that got canceled in April, right when the pandemic started, we prepped. We were 4 weeks out, me and him. So then that got canceled, and then we did the Toronto show where we both flew, prepped again. We both flew to Toronto and they landed, and then the government of Ontario shut the whole thing down. So we're stuck. And Eve, I think, was doing it too.
Yeah.
Her, me, and Dylan were the only people that had to fly home in quarantine. Everybody else that was doing that show just got to go home because we were out of the Atlantic provinces. So
yeah,
like the hard thing I think with that experience was like, we didn't get to go on stage, but like we both had to give up like 2 weeks of paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We come home and take time off work,
Take time off work and be in isolation.
sit at home and just be like, you know, you didn't even have like the show to kind of hang your hat on and be like, oh, at least we got to go and compete. Like it was such a letdown. And then you had to come home and just like sit with all those feelings and all that like overwhelming emotion of just like, man, like we just worked really hard at this. And it was like up to like the last 16 hours before we were about to get on stage and it gets canceled. It's just like ripped out from underneath you. It's like,
I personally cannot imagine that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like that was pretty like discouraging, right, at the time. And I mean, now looking back at it, it's like,
Thank God.
in a way, thank God, you know, but it's like, it also, you learn a lot about yourself and you kind of get to like, it just makes you that much hungrier and that much more motivated. And it makes you thankful to be in the position that we're in right now, right? After having gone through all that stuff, it makes this so much more rewarding and so much more fulfilling for that reason, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's times like these where you can kind of look back and think like everything happens for a reason, right? Like
exactly.
I mean, like turning pro at like a COVID pro qualifier, like definitely not as cool as turning pro at like a full North Americans with like all the eyes on you, like all the big names at that show. Like, I mean, you guys must have seen a lot of like pros and just like, you know, the IFBB brass are there as well, like all the executives.
Yeah, like everybody was there. So like the cool thing about that show, and I mean, it's the one show I've never been to. I've never been to the North Americans. I never competed in it. I never watched it. So, I mean, the only real experience I've had in the States is at the Arnold's and the Amateur Olympia, but it's a different environment there because it's primarily a pro event, right? Yeah. And you're doing an amateur qualifier at the pro event. So you're kind of just like a branch.
The focus is not on the amateurs.
Whereas like this is the 5-day amateur event in Pittsburgh where the Manions live. And, you know, the top, like the judges that were at that show were, you know, all the same judges they use at pro shows. You had all the coaches from the US that were there because, you know, there's every category is there. So somebody's there with someone.
Yeah.
And not only that, but, you know, you had a wide spread of competitors from all over the US. So there was never really like a particular group of people there. Like it was like, there was people from Texas, there was people from the West Coast, there was people from New York, from Florida, you know, from the Midwest. So it was cool because it was just everything. It was everything was there that, you know, could be found at like the USA's or the Nationals, like those shows that we can't really participate in. And it wasn't weird. Like I was a little bit, you know, concerned that it would be, I was concerned that it would be like, you know, kind of like you feel out of place or like, you know, you're just the kind of outcast because you're a bunch of Canadians, but it was great. You know, everybody was super nice. You know, all the competitors that I met, all the coaches, and there's a lot of people that you recognize or that knew who you were just because of the social media, right? So that was actually really cool.
Yeah, that's one takeaway that I will say is like, I was really, really impressed with like, I'll use the word camaraderie, like every competitor that I met, whether it was in my division, whether it was like, you know, physique guys or bodybuilders or whoever, backstage, throughout the venue, throughout the week, it's like every single person you met just had like a positive attitude, was super supportive, was super like, you know, congratulatory or whatever it may be. And it was like, it's just great to see. Like, it just makes it for such a good environment. And like, you know, you can just kind of lift up your fellow competitors and stuff like that. And getting eaten alive by the dog here.
No worries.
And
Yeah, we see it.
yeah, like just even like backstage, like being with guys in your class and stuff like that, and guys in the overall, and everyone wants to see everyone do well. You know what I mean? There's nobody back there who's just like arrogant and is just like, oh, I'm gonna go out there and mop the floor with everyone. Like everyone was really supportive and just like, it's just a good vibes, honestly, the whole week. Like,
So
yeah,
that's good. I like talking about backstage because like backstage is a vibe, right? And especially at those pro qualifiers, I've been there a few times. You know, so like, what was your mindset like backstage? Like when you first got back there, like were you able to eye up your competition? Like, or like, what is your backstage routine? Because I mean, we all saw the look you brought, extremely polished. You know, you guys obviously nailed it. So yeah, just talk about that a little bit.
I think like as like the show kind of got closer and stuff, like the beautiful thing about it was that I didn't get on stage for prejudging until like almost 2 PM. So we were able to kind of take it really slow all day and just kind of like take our time with things and just be really methodical. And I think having that time that morning was just really, really good for, you know, I guess taking the pressure off. Like I really didn't feel super stressed. I didn't feel super nervous. Like I knew that we were doing everything that we could do and we were going to bring the best package that we could possibly bring. So like, as far as that is concerned, like I was pretty confident in like my look, you know what I mean? Like, not to take away from like any of your fellow competitors or anything like that. I was just really confident in the package that we were going to bring. And not to mention like, you know, you put in all the work through prep, whether it be with posing, whether it's presentation, whatever it may be. So like you do all these things and you're prepared, you know, like the only thing that you're going to do is psych yourself out and say like, get in your own head and be like, oh, like I'm going to bomb this or whatever. Like, that's the only way that you're going to really psych yourself out, because you put in the work, you put in the time, and you've done everything that you can do. And it's like, now it's just a matter of just going and doing it. So,
yeah, but I think a lot of people don't. I think that's what the problem is for people that don't get the pro cards, is they didn't do enough. So if you did everything, you have the most confidence, you go out there and you win. But a lot of people backstage, maybe they're thinking about what they didn't do or what they should have done.
yeah, no, and that's just exactly it. And I think for me, like, I felt really, like I said, I felt really confident in the package that we were going to bring. And when I got backstage, like I felt really calm. I felt super like in control. I felt just like, I felt ready, you know what I mean? And I think for like my mindset, yeah, I mean, like, I think anyone would be lying if they said that like I didn't size up my competition and stuff like that. Like, of course, like you get in line backstage and you're just kind of, okay, like these are the guys that I'm going to be up against. But I mean, you can't do anything about that. You can't change that. Like, it's, you know, we're all here right now. We're all in the same boat. And all you can do is do what you've done over prep and over the last X amount of years and just go showcase that on stage. So I think backstage for me, like my mindset was mainly just like kind of going over what I'm going to do on stage, like my 30 seconds, my mandatories, my, you know, just kind of visualizing that and like visualizing myself getting moved to the middle and visualizing myself holding the middle and just like, yeah, like more of that, I guess, kind of just picturing myself up there, picturing myself with the lights on me, the judges, like just a lot of visualization. And I really wasn't like super focused on anything else that was going on backstage. I was kind of in my own head and trying to project myself like onto the stage and just like, yeah, see it kind of that way.
You're ready to win. I mean, that's I mean, we've talked to a lot of people that have won shows on this podcast, and everyone seems to have like that feeling leading up to showtime where it's like they're in control, they know they've done all the work, like they're 100% prepared. And and that is kind of like, in my mind, what you should be doing backstage is just visualizing what's going to happen on the stage, because up until that point, you've visualized it 1,000 times already anyway. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you can only really do that visualization when you know you've done all the things that you need to do to win, right? Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. So I didn't get a chance to see the stream, but I am interested to ask you, like, when you were up there, like in the call outs and stuff like that, like, was it much of a battle up there for like your class or?
My class, I mean, I don't really think so, honestly. Like, there were 10 guys in my class. So, I mean, that's the thing with classic physique, like being in the taller class, it's always the smaller class, right? There's never, you know, I think B and C, they had like nearly 32 guys per class.
Yeah, C had 32, and I think B had something like that.
29 or 30. So those are always the bigger classes, and like classic D is always the smaller of the four. And I knew that going in, or I had an idea of that going in, you know, like.
Are you 6'2"?
Just over. I'm like 6'2.5". Yeah. So my weight cap was 237 for the show.
How much did you weigh?
236.
Fuck. So you just met the weight cap, eh?
Yeah, that was the goal. We were just
so what do you have? Is it like 246 now for the pro?
247, yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's got a whole 10 pounds.
A whole 10 pounds. So
yeah,
okay.
he's got 10 pounds over Chris, like in terms of cap.
Really?
Yeah.
Coming for Bumstead right out of the gate. Heard it here first. Dylan Bursey, shots fired. Coming right for CBUM. All right.
Well, no, I was just saying he's
no. We know what you're getting at. It's all right. No need to explain yourself here. We'll leave it there. So okay, so yeah, and then you won your class handily, obviously, and then but that's pretty impressive. I mean, if you made it to the overall, and then you're up against guys that had to beat out 30 odd guys to win their class, and then you hop in the overall and you take those guys out. So,
and I mean, like, that being said, like, there were, even though like we had the smaller of the four classes, like there were a lot of really, really solid physiques in my class as well. And the guy who came second, he won his pro card in Masters 35 plus, and the guy who came third, Casey Wilson, he won his in men's physique. So like my class had 3 pros. Three guys turned pro. So I mean, you know, it's not really to be like taken lightly either, I guess. But
yeah, like in the first call out, he shared that there were 6 in the first call out, and he shared the middle with the guy who won the Masters pro card.
Yeah, but I probably had about 20 pounds on him, right? So that's the overall there.
We kind of knew going into the show that Jimmy was going to be who we were really concerned with.
Yeah, so Jimmy on the far left.
Jimmy on the far left. He's from Quebec, and I mean, he has a phenomenal physique.
Yeah,
like
wicked shape, really like dry, like hard. You know what I mean? Like he's got that really classic look.
Yeah,
just that 20 pounds that Dylan has, just really.
So his cap would be 212, I think, and I'm 237. So I mean, 25 pounds on stage, right?
You can see it. Yeah, you can see it in the back double bicep really well, in the side chest.
And the good thing is too, is like the height. Like it's not like bodybuilding where Dylan's got 25 pounds, but he's 2 inches shorter than the guy. Like he's taller. Yeah. So the 20 pounds is just a bigger version of the other small, like other classes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but this is what you get at a caliber of show like this. Like all the winners of those
and all the guys are peeled, man. Like the conditioning,
right? Like they're gonna fill out their weight cap. The conditioning is gonna be there, and like I mean, we were talking about this before you guys came on, but like your presentation overall, right? Like your height, structure, like fullness, condition, but also your tan, like your look, like you look very clean up there. Like there was nothing to pick apart.
No, and there was like, that was one thing, like feedback wise, that I've heard from a lot of people. Like my color was bang on, you know, and shout out to LSR and Bombshell and Showtime for that, because like they just nailed it. Like everything was such a great experience with them.
Did you do much skincare prep?
Yeah, and I do good skincare prep like all year round, but especially leading up to the show. Like I buy the LSR skin prep kit. So it's like exfoliating, moisturizer, pH balancing body wash, like all that stuff. And my skin, like it takes the color really, really well. So all that helps. So
yeah, I've been using it too the last preps, and I find like the last couple weeks, like it'd be expensive to do it your whole prep with the kits.
Yeah, I think the
But
last
the
couple weeks
last
is
couple weeks, like, you know, when it really matters to have your skin as on par, because nobody wants to have the color ruin their fucking show.
No.
I think you gotta maintain like just year round, like healthy skin, like not letting your skin get out of control, like with acne, and like it's just exfoliating on a regular basis. Then when it comes down to it, you start getting that base tan, then you start obviously paying more attention to the details, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Like I think, like Dana said, like if you were to run that skin prep kit, like
Particularly,
even through your full prep would be expensive, but like year round, I mean, you wouldn't be able to do that. But like,
No,
there's other alternatives, right? Like it's just, you know,
yeah, it's
keep,
just
like,
it's
healthy,
just,
like make healthy decisions, and it's like all that stuff is just gonna help your skin, but also like the skin care as well, like exfoliating and moisturizing, like you said. And then the last, I know it's summer, but like the last couple weeks, like I went in the bed pretty much every day just to kind of get a good base color as well. And then
we really just tried to, I mean, the biggest thing for the show, especially on my end, was like obviously getting Dylan in shape.
Mhm.
But the tricky part about that with him is that there was a lot of things we did a little bit differently, especially with cardio, because with him, I was really, really concerned about his quads. Dylan has a high metabolism. Getting in shape is not necessarily an issue for him. He's always been really easy to get in shape, but to be able to keep his legs, to be able to, you know, hold the fullness in his muscle, because he is taller. So when he goes flat, or we push cardio really hard, like his legs really flatten out. And that's like, you know, if we were to have to push him to the last, you know, couple of days to get him in shape, it would be impossible. He wouldn't fill out. And then if we tried to really fill him out, then we'd really have to get the water off him. And that's really difficult. Like you guys know, like, you know, being bigger in general, but then with him being taller, it's just, we really wanted to avoid losing anything that was really kind of, you know, coming to life. Like his legs just kept getting better, his conditioning kept getting better. So we did some things with cardio there, like no cardio on leg days, and we kind of just played around with that and just listened to his body. And then the last like week and a half, I put his fats up, like probably like 30 to 40 grams a day. We didn't really change much with carbs, and that made a huge difference in, not necessarily because he wasn't filling out, because we weren't really putting carbs in, but like his energy. And then when we did start to put carbs in, he didn't burn through it.
it was sticking a little bit more.
You know, he was actually able to fill out from, you know, this much carbs instead of like, holy crap. Because we've done it in the past where we just carb loaded. We didn't really add a lot of fats in, and he could go like through 1,000 grams of carbs and be flat because he's just burning through it, you know. And that was a little bit better, because as soon as we started to try and fill him out, we could really, you know, see the changes every 2 or 3 hours.
Making more subtle changes with the carbs, like subtle increases were making way more drastic changes. You know what I mean? Instead of like, oh, we need to throw 1,000 carbs at you to see changes. Now it was like, oh, we could just bump them up like 50% a meal, or, you know, whatever it may be. And like just those little subtle changes were figured out a lot in regards to this prep.
So yeah, like getting him obviously ready physically for the show, and then of course peaking him. I mean, that's just a day-to-day process, just listening to what his body's saying. But then like he was saying too, like the thing that tied it all together is just having the stage stuff already nailed down. Like we had his 30-second nailed down. We've going through posing, like, you know, every other champion, you know, guys that are up there. So it's just literally getting on stage is like routine, you know.
So would you say that, like, compared to getting him ready for Toronto, which was, when was that back? How long ago was that?
That was December,
right? So was this like, was it easier getting him in shape and like conditioned properly for this show because you had that data from Toronto?
Oh yeah,
for sure. The thing about that show too last year is like where we did flex, and then 3 weeks later Toronto as well. So like we didn't, you know, put all of our eggs in one basket for flex. Like we kind of came in 3 weeks out, not necessarily, but in a sense, right? Like and then really pushed it hard for Toronto. So the approach was slightly different because of that as well. But we learned a lot last prep that we were able to just apply without even really thinking about it, kind of going into this show. So
It was a lot more difficult though, because he was leaner than Toronto at like 4 weeks out. But he was also eating like 2,900 calories. But he was also like, I can't move. Like I'm literally,
yeah,
but what we learned this prep is like, okay, how do we get your conditioning to a new place? And then how do we keep your workouts? Like I was still trying to get him to go to the gym and put the same weights on the bar and move them.
Yeah.
So as he's getting leaner, and it's like, you know, he had some fucking hard days, man, like
dark days.
but it's one of those things where it's like, we're going to a place that you haven't really been to yet, and you can do it. You can manage it.
Yeah.
And, you know, every 2 days he'd wake up and it's like, holy shit, you know? So that, and I mean, that kind of keeps you, you know, going a little bit, right? Because it's difficult, but you're so locked in that you don't even realize how difficult it is, other than like every hour and up, and it's just kind of like clockwork. But
yeah, like
that was a big difference.
There's
too.
definitely days, and I mean, everyone who's kind of gone to that place understands, like, you know, days where you're just like, you got nothing in the tank whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like you can barely get out of bed, you can barely stand up, you can barely, and then it's like, you still got to go drive your ass to the gym and get your cardio in and do your training and pose and make your meals. And like, there's a lot of shit you got to do running on empty, you know what I mean? And it's
So
like,
what do you do on those days?
so, I mean, for me, thankfully, like with work, like I was able to get the last like 2 weeks off work with prep. So that was a huge,
your last week was
like
key.
that was huge, because
3 weeks out to 2 weeks out was hard though.
3 weeks to 2 weeks, like finishing up that last week of work was really, really difficult. Just solely because, like, you know, you're trying to tick all these boxes as far as prep is concerned, but then you've also got to go to work for 8 hours a day. And like, it's a pretty mentally taxing job. So it's like,
Tell everybody what
But
you do.
how
Tell
did you
everybody what you do.
managing 100 like the
I mean, yeah, like if you
Yeah,
think
what
about
do you do?
so I'm an air traffic controller. So one of the most stressful jobs you could probably do. And it's like, you know, you're on absolute fumes as far as like energy is concerned. And like, you've got to go in there and you've got thousands of people's lives at your fingertips at any given moment. Right.
So whenever Dylan's in prep, folks, do not fly. I'm telling you right now, just take that, figure out what he's doing his show preps.
Avoid
like,
New Brunswick.
Canada.
Avoid New Brunswick.
Do not fly zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So I mean, like, obviously, like I'm still able to, like, you know, handle it and stuff like that. But it was getting to a point at the end of like before I had my time off, that it was just like, you know, you'd finish a day at work and you're just like, holy shit, like I got nothing in me. Like I just got to go home and sleep. I was like multiple naps a day, like just trying to like get through energy wise. Right. But yeah, I mean, as far as like what you do in those hard days, I mean, like how fucking bad do you want it? You know,
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's what I was about to say.
Right?
Yeah,
Like obviously
that's
like,
what
the times that you're just like, holy fuck, like I can't even move, but it's like, you know, that's the difference, right? It's like, okay, well, if you're not going to fucking move and you're just going to lay here, then what's the point? You know what I mean? Like if you're not going to get out of bed and you're not going to go do the shit you have to do, then what are you doing this for? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not optional, right? Like, you just
Well,
don't-
what is it like? What is the difference? Because some people can't handle it and they just can't. Why are you able to do it and other people can't do it?
I think it's 100% mental for sure, but it's also like just having these goals. Like you want to accomplish these things and you want to push yourself to the absolute limit. You know what I mean? And
So is that what you do when you're having one of your worst days? You just continue to remind yourself that there's a goal that you have to achieve, and just there's no other option to getting it done. Is just that what you tell yourself, or is there something else, or what is it?
no, I think it honestly, like if it kind of comes back to like what I talked about with backstage, like visualization and stuff like that. Like I'm really, really big on that. So like, you know, days that I'd wake up in the morning and I'm just like, holy fuck, like this is going to be a tough one. Like this is going to be a tough day. And it's like, you kind of just take a minute to just sit with yourself and just like visualize like, okay, well, what's the impact if I don't do this? Like, obviously I'm going to fucking hate myself. I'm going to feel super guilty. I'm going to not be like progressing the way that I want to progress. I'm not going to achieve my goals. And then it's like, you just visualize like, okay, like me standing center stage with that pro card, like that's what I visualize in my head. And it's just like, how am I going to get there? Well, it's going to start with you getting out of this fucking bed and going and doing your cardio and like just putting your head down, putting the blinders on and just sucking it up and doing it, right?
Do you think that it also helps too if you just continue to focus on the one thing you have to do next and not think about all the things you have to do?
100%. I think like day to day and like taking it like, obviously there is a bigger picture when it comes to prep and like you're thinking about like an end goal. But I think as far as like getting through like the nitty gritty and the tough days, it's like you just have to like focus on the next hour, the next 45 minutes. That, you know what I mean? Like set yourself up with smaller goals. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to go do my 45 minutes or an hour of cardio. And then after that, what do I have to do?
That's just it. I just can't believe sometimes when people tell me that they couldn't finish their cardio session or something like that. Like I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Because you already started it.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're physically incapable. It's just that you stopped because you were tired.
Yeah, that's a mental block. That's all that is. Like to me, that's all.
I think that's a skill, right? Because it's like every time you, let's say you're doing 60 minutes every day, every time you complete that 60 minutes, you get better at doing that.
Yeah.
You're so confident that you can complete the 60 minutes that you're like, I could do more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you put yourself harder too, like,
yeah. You have to know that you can handle everything.
Calories than you did the day before, you know what I mean? Because like you do build that confidence and it's like, yeah, okay, I am doing this and I feel good about myself and I feel accomplished because I did all these things today and I'm going to do them again tomorrow. And like, you almost have to like pat yourself on the back along the way a little bit too and say like, sit down and just realize like what you're actually accomplishing and what you're doing is pretty fucking crazy in the grand scheme of like, not a lot of people can do it. And it's like, you have to kind of like, I pat yourself on the back sometimes because it's not for everyone, man. Like,
that's what they mean. That's what they mean more when they talk about like brick by brick. It's like you're building these mental blocks, or not mental blocks, but it's like building with Lego. It's like one block at a time. You just keep building and just keep achieving these small wins for yourself, right? It's like just going through a day of work was probably a huge win for you at that point, right?
100%, especially like in the final stretches of prep, right? And I think like Dana and I have had this conversation before, like the way that I look at bodybuilding, it's like, obviously you have your team, you have your coaches, you have whoever's involved in your preps and whatever, people that support you and all that stuff. But as far as like, day to day in prep and like what you have to accomplish as far as training, as far as cardio, diet, whatever it may be, that is a you versus you thing. And it's like, if you can't beat that person in the mirror every single day, then you're not going to be successful. You know what I mean? Like you need to beat that person, you need to beat the version of you yesterday. You need to like, because it's pretty fucking easy for someone to just sit there and be like, like I'm just going to skip that meal, or I'm just going to skip this 30 minutes of cardio, or it'll be fine. I'm in shape. It's going to be fine. Like, no, like if that's your mentality, then like you've already lost, you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
And I think that's where like the importance of, vulnerability, and also like you said too, with the mental stuff, Robin, like a lot of people, when they get put in, wow, their body fat's low, or whatever the scenario might be in terms of like what prep brings, they start to self-sabotage, or a lot of these like, toxic like traits that they might have developed over the years come out. So not finishing their cardio is kind of like a psychological way of self-sabotaging themselves from being at their all-time best, because they're afraid of what that might actually be. Like, what if you actually did do it? Deep down, some people, they self-sabotage, and whether it's a meal, or, staying up and not getting enough sleep, or skipping a workout and then using some sort of excuse to justify it. But then it's like, well, in a lot of those cases, an easy way to go around that is to be vulnerable and say, hey, coach, hey, training partner, this is how I'm feeling right now, and I don't fucking want to go down that road. Like, how do you think I should, approach it? Or like, tell me that I need to basically smarten the fuck up.
And I think that that's super important, is to like having an open dialogue and a really good relationship with your coach on
Yeah.
those is to say like, hey, like I'm having a pretty fucking hard go over here today. Like this is what's going on. And
Well, I wanted to ask you guys about that because there has to be a difference between communicating that and then just complaining.
Right.
right,
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's like, like we're really good with that, like, as far as communication goes. Like we talk about all this stuff quite regularly, and it's like, it's sometimes it's like all you really need is someone, as in your coach or friend or whoever it is, to just kind of look at you and just say like, you know, either smarten the fuck up and like shut up kind of thing, and just like, you got this, it's going to be fine, or to actually like, maybe there's a bigger issue here and like we need to actually sit down and like talk about the bigger picture, what's going on, like is there something that's actually like at the core, you know.
Okay. So how would you explain that to Dana? Let's say you had a really bad day, you were literally at the end of your fuse and just can't handle anything, and you have to get it out. How do you
Yeah, so
how
I
do you
mean,
tell them? How do you tell them without sounding like a bitch or
no,
without,
it's like,
you know,
and that's kind of the thing too. It's like, yeah, like you're not trying to like go to your coach or go, like in this case, go to Dana and like, I'm not complaining, because it's
Yeah.
like, this is something that
He's never really complained.
this
to
is
be
something that I
honest.
want to do, and this is something that I know that needs to be done for me to achieve my goals. And it's not like I'm complaining, but it's like, hey man, like I'm just trying to level with you here, like full disclosure, this is what's going on today. Like, you know, I had a super fucked up day at work, I slept fucking 2 hours, XYZ, like I've got no energy, I'm just like dragging my ass around today. And it's like, but it's okay, you know what I mean? And then it's just like a little bit of a back and forth. It's like, hey man, like, yeah, I totally understand, like just try and get some sleep, just, you know, tick the boxes today, like literally, like, you know, don't worry about anything else as far as like life shit, like just like, you know, get your meals in, do the work that you have to do, and tomorrow will be a better day kind of thing. Get a good night's sleep. And it's nice to just kind of have that voice of reason to just say like, you know, because we all know like you can get in your head and, you know, hyper fixate on things and overthink things, and you need that coach or that voice of reason to just kind of bring you down to earth every now and then and just say like, hey, you're right on track, and like you are going to have shitty days, but as long as you put your head down and work hard, good things are going to happen. So
totally. Yeah. And I think it's up to the individual to really choose whether they want to have that positive ending. Like you said, like it's going to be okay, but this is just what's going on. It's a shitty situation, but I'm okay. Or it's like, this is my situation, and like, I want to quit the show right now. It's like, come on.
Right.
That's a
Yeah.
huge difference, right?
it is a huge
Massive.
difference. And it's
Yeah.
like the difference between having a bad day and like, you know,
Throwing it all away.
and throwing it all away. Exactly. Like that's kind
That's a
of,
quitter, and that's a loser, and you're gonna fucking get smacked on stage because you have that mentality, right?
exactly.
The big thing is too right now, like, you know, I did 3 shows this year so far. So Dylan went to all 3 of them. We went to Toronto, did the Atlantics here. Then we went to Toronto, and then we went out to Vancouver. So also for him, like he's been kind of watching me get on stage and go through the whole process. And that in itself has just been a huge help of like getting him in the mindset of being at a show and like being in that space. And then too, like we talked about like all the cancellations and all the COVID stuff, like the difference with us now is that like we talked about this too. We were put in a situation that it wasn't because we were lazy that we, you know, the gyms were closed and we couldn't train for months, and, you know, the shows are canceled or whatever. It's like all these things that you have zero control over. Whereas normally, you know, if you quit the show, didn't do it, or if you quit prep, or if you just fucked off from the gym for a couple months, it's kind of you just basically giving up.
Yeah.
So it's like we went through all that and we didn't have a choice. And now that that's all gone, like me and him are like, there's no fucking way that we're not taking advantage of every day, every
Nothing getting
week.
in our way.
Like if we've got to literally anything that we need to do to get our goals done, you know, whether we like it or not, because we also have each other for training. Like we're training partners. We live 15 minutes away from each other. We do have a good friendship. And then of course I'm coaching him. So it's kind of like one of those things where we're not going through this on our own, and we wouldn't want to. But that just makes it a whole lot easier to know that, you know, we're just going to be able to push through whatever we have to. And then it's like, I also, like, for me, it's like, I don't want to, like, I just turned this guy pro at the biggest show that you can do as a Canadian. It's like, I got to step up to the plate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be thinking like that. I want to put myself in that level. Like, same with you guys. Like, you guys are professional. It's like, I'm now creating, you know, a scenario for myself where I have to ask more of myself. I need to be more. And it's not like I feel obligated. I want to. So that makes me even more driven for my own goals. And then for him, it's the same thing. It's like, you know, he's done so well and he's been given this opportunity. Like, they basically just gave him a big check mark, right? Like, you know, having Tyler Mannion pick you for the overall at a big show like that, it's like basically like a here's a gift. Like, you've been basically, you know, given the opportunity now to start your pro career.
Like,
with
let's see what you
the
can
best
do.
possible outcome that you could do as an amateur. So it's like, what are you going to do with that? Right. And you don't want to disappoint yourself and others. You know, you kind of have that feeling like you know, not that anybody's like putting that pressure on you, but we kind of put that on ourselves. Right.
Well, it comes down to that whole like pressure is a privilege thing. Like, it's 100%, right? Like, you put this pressure on yourself, but it's like, you want to do better and you want to achieve these goals and you want to keep pushing yourself. And like, obviously for myself, like, yeah, winning my pro card and stuff like that was a huge goal of mine. Always has been. Like, that's like monumental goal status, you know what I mean? But it's like, now that that's achieved, it's like, okay, right back to the drawing block. Like, what's next? Where am I going next? Like, what's the next goal? Like, and thinking at that like higher level, because it's just like, that's not all I want to do with this. That's not good enough for me. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to be better and continue to improve and continue to like push this. And that to me is like putting that pressure on yourself. It's great. It's fantastic. Like, I wouldn't want it any other way. I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, that's good enough. Like, I turned pro, I'm good. Like,
And Morgan, like, you know that you went through the exact same thing last year. Like, you went to the overall and you beat Derek, who beat you at Atlantics, and they gave you that check mark. You won that overall. They basically said, okay, here you go. You're starting your pro career now. And it's like, do you think that something's going to get in your way of what you need to do to get to the next step? No. Like, I remember seeing you last year. It's like, you just have like a whole new mindset and this whole new, and I mean, now that's not a forever thing, right? You know, it's kind of like honeymoon phase, but
Yeah.
yeah. But you set yourself up to start the process of where you need to go. And then once you're back, like, you know, you're going through your off season and the meals are hard to get in. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
You know?
exactly. And that's, I mean, my coach said this to me, like, you know, pretty much right after I won my pro card, like, you know, you're a professional now, act like it. Right?
Yeah.
and
So-
not just in like a bodybuilding standpoint too, but just how you present yourself. And like, you know, in the bodybuilding community and like at your gym and at like, people look at you and people look at you in a different light. Right. And it's like, you need to represent what being a professional is through and through, not just on stage, but in the community as well. Right.
Yeah, well, you're representing, like, you know, the whole pro league, like for wherever you are, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're the classic pro now in your area. So like, you're the top guy. So you have to carry yourself accordingly, right?
100%.
And now, like, you know, for me, it was, I know what it took to get here, right? But now there's this whole upper echelon now. Like, you're at the bottom, like much like myself. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
you're almost starting from scratch again in a weird way.
in a way you are, right? Because, you know, obviously you have been acting like a professional because you do need to do that to become one. But now it's just like, you know, now you just have to do that for like years on end to continue to improve. Like, you have 10 pounds of stage weight to put on now. Like, I'm sure that's your next objective, right? So to do that is going to take diligence. Like, you're going to have to be on top of your shit for the next like couple of years before you fully probably fill that out.
Yeah, fully. Yeah. And like,
Yeah. So what is next for you? Like, what's the game plan moving forward? Obviously, you just competed for like a year straight, kind of, and you've been in this prep mindset for so long. Like, because you guys said at the beginning of 2020, really till now, it was like objective after objective after objective for you guys. Exactly. So now that you're kind of like pulling back, you know, what do you see coming for you in the next year to 2 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, for me, like, we haven't really had an opportunity to have like a proper full off season either. Right. Like, we had a decent amount of time off after Toronto last year, and then I broke my wrist. So I was in a cast for 6 weeks. Couldn't train upper body for the better part of 2 months. And so, I mean, that put a huge damper on any kind of an off season, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, we still maximized as much as we could, and
Put a lot of size on his legs in that time, though.
it was kind of a blessing, honestly.
Dude,
You know,
see, everything happens for a reason, man. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, bro. Yeah.
And that was probably the bulk of like the difficult times that Dylan had, because, you know, he broke his wrist, and I mean, none of those situations are glamorous. It's not like he, you know, tried to save like 10 dying children from a building and they fucking like broke his wrist and saved everybody. It's like a stupid thing that happens and you break your wrist.
accident, yeah.
It's just an accident. And then you feel stupid. Like every day you wake up and it's your hand that you use,
Dominant.
dominant hand. And then it's like, then you get ahead and you know, like he was like, you know, man, like, I don't know if I'll be able to prep this year. Like if I can't get this, you know, and then I'm like, you know what, like, fuck it. Like, okay, your wrist is broken. You can still work, which is fantastic.
Mhm.
So you're not out your job. You can still train legs.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's just one of those things. It's like, look, we're going to train legs 3 times a week, maybe even 4, because they're like, you're just going to lose your mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't let you do that to yourself. Like you're not going to go down that road where like, you're not in the gym and you're messed up in the head because you can't train and you feel like an idiot.
It's even harder at that point to get back into it because you lost your routine.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was just like the whole time that he was going through that, we just kept taking it week by week. And then as soon as he got the clear, we were back training hard and everything was good.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Like, obviously at the time it was really difficult, but it worked out. We just adapted and did what we could under the circumstances, and it worked out. It was
You
fine.
get that one video where everybody's got that one video, their arms in a cast and doing leg press. They're like, fucking hardcore, bro. You know?
Yeah, exactly, right.
Did you guys do the thing where did you train the other side of your body?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Like, not crazy, but I did enough. Like once a week, I probably went in and just did like some upper body stuff for my left side and
Right on, yeah.
got moving around at least, you know, just get some blood flow in there and just
Get some blood moving around the upper body. Yeah, makes sense.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So going back, so like, what's the game plan? Like, you know, going forward here.
Yeah, so I think like full off season for me right now is the plan. Like I got 10 pounds of my stage weight, so like growing into that would be kind of the biggest goal, obviously.
So do you have a timeline? Like, do you anticipate how much time you're going to take away from competing?
Honestly, I think I'd like to get on a stage next summer.
Okay.
So probably like maybe just shy of a year. I'd like to kind of do a debut maybe in like July-ish, depending on the schedule.
For sure. Yeah.
We've kind of just spitballed, like, depending on the schedule, I guess, like this year, for example, there was like Chicago, Tampa, and Texas that were kind of back to back to back.
Right.
So
Vancouver as
maybe
well.
something along those lines. Like I'd like to kind of just go and bang out like 3 or 4, you know what I mean? And just do it that way and see what happens. I mean, ultimately the goal is to qualify for the Olympia.
I think the biggest thing, like the reality of his situation, based on everything that's happened. So we went to North Americans, won his class, won the overall. The biggest feedback is that he does have a similar look to Chris on stage. And, you know, they're roughly around the same height. They have the same look. They have a lot of the same parts in terms of like strengths. And I don't really see anybody competing in the pro league that has a like almost similar structure and shape to Chris in terms of height, like, you know, being that 6'2" whatever guy with the same kind of shape and structure. Obviously it's not Chris.
No.
But that being said, you know, he's winning the Olympia and he looks a lot like the winner. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I see what you're saying. Like that's a desired look, and he fits right in there into that desired look.
exactly.
As opposed to some of these like shorter guys that are coming up, and maybe some guys that belong in bodybuilding that are just like, you know, fit into classic that are pros. Like, yeah, I totally agree. I think Dylan, like, you know, to me is the epitome of like classic and at least in the direction that they're going.
Right. So it's like having the fact that he has 10 maybe even 12 pounds of stage weight, because he can be even leaner. So that 10 to 12 pounds of actual tissue, we could probably put more muscle on and come in more conditioned. Now, will we max out that weight cap next year? Maybe, maybe not. It's not even.
I don't think he's going to have much trouble putting on that weight because you've been
No,
so,
he won't.
you've
I
been
don't
so
think you need to
restricted
max
for
it
so
out.
long.
Yeah,
No,
you don't need to max it on your debut anyway. So.
No. But the thing is like, you know, we were thinking of maybe doing a show like right away. And I'm like, but like, why? Like, we want to, like, ultimately people have to go to the Olympia. So we want to basically get him up to Chris, next to Chris, and actually have that look of like, well, how do they look next to each other? So it's like, we're going to try and play the long game with that. We want to have a big off season, and then he makes a lot of progress in his preps too. So I'm not so concerned with him getting super, super crazy heavy in the off season and really, you know, putting on a whole bunch of weight where we have to strip it all off for prep. It's like, we want to put a bulk of the progress that he needs to make in the areas that need to really come up, or that should really come up. And then when we start, you know, doing preps next year, we don't really know what we're going to do yet, but, you know, hopefully be able to win a pro show, you know, like do 2 or 3 shows. Hopefully we can get a win or at least points, and then get him to the Olympia next year. So, and then hopefully by then, like, hopefully if we can get him to the Olympia, which I know we're more than capable of, you know, if we can come in better, bigger, more conditioned, you know, his stage presence is really, 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 really good, you know, and that makes a big difference standing up on stage, you know, especially as a pro. And the thing is, man, like, it's the same, like, he's going to go back and it's going to be judges like Tyler and all the other guys that were at that show. So they're not going to be unfamiliar with him.
Yeah.
It's just going to come down to us making sure that he comes in a lot better.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you only get one pro debut. And I think when you are coming off of like a North American overall win, it's kind of like being drafted first overall in like the NFL draft or something.
Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Literally.
Yeah, like people have eyes on you, like, you know, there's high expectations. Like if you win a overall at that caliber of show, like you should kind of probably be competitive right away. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Typically. Yeah. But the other part of it too is just like, you know, with all this stuff being said, it sounds like, you know, maybe to a lot of you guys watching this and stuff, like, it sounds like a lot, but it's like, we've been doing this for free.
Oh yeah.
You've been
paying money to do it, son.
We've been paying out the rear end to do all this, like, and now he has the opportunity to compete as a professional, and he also has the confidence and comments that people in the industry that don't know him, don't know who he is, coming up and saying, hey, like, I can see you doing this, or hey, like this, and it's like, hey, that person doesn't owe you know, they don't need to tell him anything. You okay? You know, so it's like also getting the affirmation of like, hey, if you decide to push this, I can see good things really happening. You know, and it's not like we don't have the confidence in that, but it's like, okay, so that's easy. We want to do this anyways. We want to go to the gym and train. We want to have goals that are bigger than we can imagine.
Well, that's the thing. Like all those things that are like the bricks that you need to lay to get there, like none of those things are going to change. Like those things were going to happen anyway. Right. As far as the diet and all that stuff, like that was going to happen anyway. But now it's almost like you have this like higher purpose. And it's like
we're not squandering that shit at all, man. Like this is like, it's fucking like fantastic.
Like you've always had these goals and, you know, like working towards these goals, but now it's like, you do get that affirmation and you do kind of get that nod from people to say like, yeah, you know, like I could really see you fucking doing something with this. And it's like,
well, yeah, you have a bit more self-belief now too. Like you've been verified, like, you know, your hard work is going towards something, right?
Yeah.
So before we let you guys go, I was just wondering, like, you know, obviously you got the win, but besides that, like, what was the coolest moment for you guys of the whole weekend? Like, did you talk to anybody in particular or get a nod from somebody that you remember specifically?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to kind of field this one a little bit? We both, like, we made a ton of connections down there. And I mean, I find doing like show weekends like that, whether you're competing or not, like to me, that is one of the most enjoyable things is networking.
Oh, hell yeah.
And just, you know, like just hearing people's stories and just kind of getting to like, you know, there's a lot of people that I met that were more interested in me as a person and not as a bodybuilder. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you do for work? What do you do back home? Like, where are you from? And it's like, that's pretty cool to kind of get to know people on that level as more than just like, oh, okay, like, you know, you're Dylan the bodybuilder and you just won this and congratulations, and like having those more like personal conversations, like it's kind of cool.
Well, we stayed with Rowan and Emma won her pro card.
Yeah.
That was kind of the cool part. And Angela, she's from Newfoundland, she stayed with us too. So it was kind of cool. All of us kind of like lived together for like 4 or 5 days. And like, you know, we were kind of like, you know, all of us didn't really know each other like too well, like to be living together for like 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
But we all got along really good. And we're all like, you know, Dylan and Rowan were doing their prep first, but Rowan's coach, Matt Burzicott, he was there, you know, in and out because he was coaching Emma too. So we got to spend a lot of time with him. So it was kind of cool to connect with him. And like also from a coaching standpoint, like there was a lot of stuff that, you know, because, you know, we were kind of all like I was peaking Dylan at the same time. So if there was any questions I might have had, everything was kind of like discussed in the sense that I could be like, how, like I'm doing this. And he's like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the other cool part too is like like Julian, he was down because he had another client, Justine, doing bikini. So he was there. So he actually got to get a look at me. And also we all trained together last Friday. We did a big back workout and we filmed it actually. So we're going to put it up on YouTube. A lot of good information, but it was just really cool to be around people like that. And I got to see Matt Jansen again. He was up there, but he used to coach me. But like in saying all that, like all of those individuals also like, you know, congratulating me on my work and like also being like, man, like he's good. Like he looks really good. Like good job. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool, you know, like to go down to a show like that. Get like
these are the fruits of your labor. Like, you know what I mean? I understand.
Get that respect from like those people in the industry. 100%. And it's like, that kind of makes you feel like, you know, some people may get like ego from it, but it makes me feel peace. It's like, like, you know, things are good.
I think we all want like a little bit of validation, you know?
Right. Yeah. Right.
If you work really hard at work and you bust your ass and then your boss is like, hey man, can you do a little bit more? And you're like, you know, it doesn't make you feel very good. But if you get a pat on the back, you're more motivated.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly it, right? Like getting recognized.
Well, there was no expectation for any of that. I was just like, we're gonna go. Like, I was so like, hey, what's Dylan got to eat? And I wasn't going there. Like, I wonder if a whole bunch of people are gonna give me a high five. Right? No, yeah. So you're going around the whole weekend, and like, I'm so happy. Like, he wins his pro card and stuff, and then like people are congratulating me, and I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I coached him. Yeah. Like I was like, you know, super happy for him, and then it's like I totally, even coming home, it's like I totally forgot.
Yeah, that's a cool feeling to get your first pro win as a coach too.
Yeah, and I think even for us too, as like Canadians, because like we're over here working our asses off, and like we just don't have the. You guys okay?
Yeah, it's just a porno pop-up popped up on my screen.
Which one?
You gotta close out Pornhub. Everyone forgets to close it out. But
what else do you got today, boys?
Here we go. We got you back.
I think the best part about all that, like the networking and all that stuff at events, especially like Pittsburgh this week, was like, it was all just organic. You know what I mean? Like you didn't put any pressure on it. You didn't like try and insert yourself in these conversations that may or may not have happened. And it's like, it all just happened because we were just being ourselves, doing our thing. And, you know,
yeah, you run into so-and-so,
and you're talking
for 15 minutes.
Then someone else joins in on the conversation. And then it's like, all of a sudden, you know, half an hour later, you just had this massive conversation with someone you've never met before. And it's like, oh, that might be actually very like, you know, important down the road, or that might actually like something. Or
absolutely. I think too, like we spend so much time by ourselves throughout these processes, right? And like we're just living in our heads, talking to our coach, doing what we have to do. So it's a bit of a relief when you get in these like situations where you're around so many like-minded people, you know, that understand what you've been through and understand what you're doing. Like it's so relatable. When leading up to that point, you kind of feel like there's no one that you can relate to, you know, because most of us
don't get that many opportunities to talk to people that have more experience than you do.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. You know,
That's
so
the other thing too, right? It's like we've used this kind of term in the last little while. It's like, you know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room kind of thing. So it's like when you surround yourself with people in the industry that are like very successful and, you know, very knowledgeable and are doing things that are like nobody else is doing, it's just like it's pretty cool to just be around that energy and just it just feels incredible, honestly. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love
So-
how Mo just leaves, just closes the door.
Just
Probably, I bet you somebody came to the door.
Yeah.
Are you in your off season now or what?
I am, yeah. I'm gonna do some shows in the springtime.
Ooh,
nice. What do you have in mind?
TO or what?
That'll be one of them for sure.
Nice,
Nice.
good.
Yeah.
That'll be kind of
I
cool.
mean, that's a
because-
given, right? Like I haven't done TO
Yeah.
since 2019, so it's due.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
100%. Oh, it's exciting, man. That'll be
Plus
awesome.
Morgan's doing it too, so I gotta beat his ass. Anyways,
Back by Toronto.
what's going on? Where'd you go? Someone at the door?
Yeah. I think
Wow, for a second.
my bikini client Annelle, who turned pro at Toronto, I think she's wanting to do, which kind of works out because she was kind of talking to me. She wants to have like the summertime,
Mhm.
like, you know, July, August, not necessarily in prep. So she was thinking of doing some like spring shows, you know, probably Toronto might be like the last one in the mix type thing.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be at Toronto next year. I think Julian's doing Toronto too. So I'd like to go, you know, be up there for him. And
And what are you gonna do next?
well, I'm doing Canadians in 30 days.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, we're all gonna be there.
Yep, we'll see you there. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
So
Wait, you're gonna have to go up against Dorian.
yeah, it'd be my third time going up against
I
Dorian.
think this is his last attempt, man. So
Yeah, because
Last
we did 2014 nationals together.
Yeah.
And then he did 2016 nationals together.
Yeah.
And actually, sorry, 2013. I did open men's. Remember, we did.
yeah, I was at all those shows.
Do
I
not
did every
finish.
single one of those. I competed with you at every single one.
Remember that? We were like, well, we'll just do open. Me and Robin were like, we'll just do open.
And that was
Did-
like my worst look ever. Like 2015 was terrible. You beat me that year. Fuck.
Yeah, that was horrible, man. That Rebecca Cohen was so hot.
Rebecca
July.
Cohen.
Yeah, the place, the theater there, the venue.
Oh,
Man, that was so hot there. Oh.
yeah, I was sweating a lot.
That was the other good thing too. I'll mention this too. He didn't sweat a drop on stage,
No.
Not a bead.
which felt good. Because you know how it is. It's like, oh yeah, he's looking good. And then it's like fucking, you know, after 2 rounds of posing, it's like starts to come off and you're like,
Yeah,
oh.
once that first drop comes out,
Oh, it's
Over.
So that felt good. It felt
Might as well
good.
just walk off stage.
Yeah.
If you feel like one drip of sweat come down, just
Right.
fucking leave.
yeah. Well, you
That'd be
feel more
bad.
confident too because you know you're fucking bone dry.
Well, that's just it, man. Like in the overall, man, I felt so good. Like every pose, I just kept getting harder and harder. And it's just like it and you know, right in your head, because like you've hit these poses so many times and you can just feel it. And you just kind of feel this like energy. And I just knew, I was like, I could just feel myself just getting harder and harder every pose I hit and just better and better. And I was like, this is fucking fantastic. Like everything is just happening at the perfect time.
Fucking awesome, man. Well, this is gonna be I'm sure this is gonna be a really good episode with a lot of views with all the Chris Bumstead shit talking.
Yeah, literally title the
I'm gonna
next
see the
CBUM.
title. Yeah.
Click
I
the
think-
That's definitely the title, the next
What
CBUM.
do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of like that's kind of,
I see
like-
the debum comments. Those are good.
oh my
Debum,
gosh.
yeah.
I was like, change your handle, debum.
Bro, nowadays on social media, like
So
Yeah.
like, I
it
mean,
becomes a meme at some point. You know, it's like
yeah,
Well, that's just it.
like we kind of been talking about this lately. It's like, you know, and I mentioned it there earlier, like right now, it's like our goal is to basically just try and get him next to Chris, whatever that's gonna take. And like, you know, we don't have expectations. Like I'm not sitting here being like, you know, Dylan's
No.
gonna go and smoke everybody next year at every
No,
show he
it's
does.
like,
And he's gonna,
obviously,
he's
like
gonna go up there and he's gonna get whatever place at the Olympia. It's like we have to get to a pro show first. We have to do an off season first. But like if we get to the Olympia and they place him 10th, like we want to know that. Like
Yeah.
we want to know if he's a 10th place guy at the Olympia, or we want to know, like, if he gets to a pro show next year and he can't win the pro show, we want to know, okay, what do we need
What
to
we need
do?
to do? Yeah.
So like, that's the biggest thing about next year is like doing everything that we can to get him ready for a pro show. And then how do the cards fall, right? Like, what are the judges telling us? Are they giving him, are they like, yeah, you're the best guy on stage. We want to see you at the Olympia. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we get to the Olympia. Is he a second call out? Is he a first call out? Is he whatever, you know? And then from there, okay, what the hell do we need to do now? You know?
I think you build a good fan base and have like a really good momentum behind you being that's
Well, that too, right? Like kind of
taller.
marketing myself and just trying to get my name out there is a big part of it, but also like, yeah, just exactly what he was just saying, like
play off your strengths.
putting yourself in these situations to be standing up next to the best on a pro stage and compare yourself to these guys. And it's like, where do I fall? Where do I sit? And it's like, how do I improve? How do I get better? What do I need to do? And it's like, you just, how are you going to improve and make the right decisions unless, you know, the biggest names in the industry, the judges, whatever, are telling you like, hey, this is what we want to see. We need to see you do this. We need to see you improve here. It's like, and the only way to do that is to compete and get on these stages and do these shows, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the good part is too, is that he can just do a bodybuilder off season. Cause I mean, he's got weight to put on, you know, and it's like, there's a lot of guys, you know how they're going to drop 10 pounds to make weight. Well, we're fortunate that he's in a position where we need to put on 30 pounds, maybe even, well, 30 good pounds, and hopefully be able to keep, you know, over the process of, you know, 8 or 9 months, at least 8 to 10 with better conditioning, you know, so.
Yeah.
We're excited for it, guys. It's going to be good. And we'll see you guys in Toronto in like less than 30 days. So,
yeah.
Are you, when are you going up? Are you going up a little early?
Yeah, we're going to be there. I'm going to be there from the September 29th to October 10th.
Nice. Okay. So I'm going up on the 2nd. So I'll be there all week as well.
Okay, perfect.
He's going up a couple days earlier as well. So he's going to be there for like 10 days, 12 days. I'll be there for 8. And yeah.
Dana, when are you going?
I haven't booked it yet because I'm still figuring out a few things, but I might go to that show beforehand.
The Legends Cup.
That's where I'm going because I got my clients doing it.
Because I got a client doing it too.
I got 2 clients doing it actually.
Yeah, I've got one doing it for sure. So I was like, yeah, I'll probably, why not? Right. And I gotta figure out the whole dog situation and, you know.
Yeah, dude, I know. I'm with
new
you there.
for me, so.
I'm with you there, brother.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, well, it's just, I don't know if I'm going to get the parents or somebody from here. So yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right, cool. Well, we'll be in touch, boys. Thanks a lot for coming on. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having us.
Make sure you subscribe and we'll see you guys next week.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Ring the bell. Peace, guys.